Welcome to Skiba News Nation, bringing you unfiltered views, news, interviews, discussions, and more. And now, here's your host, Jeremiah Skiba, award-winning musician and son of Rob Skiba.
I just want to say thank you for all the love and support. This show could not be possible without all of you. And as you all know, I am not my dad, and I never will be, but I will do my best to carry on his legacy in my own way, in my own style. Thank you for understanding, and now come on this journey with us as we continue to seek the truth. Now here's my co-host, Jake Grant.
Hey, what's up?
What's up, man?
It's great to be here, Jeremiah.
Good to see you, man.
Yeah, man, this is really exciting. I'm really excited for this show, and I think it's going to do a lot of good.
Me too, man. So tell me a little bit about, or tell the audience a little bit about yourself and how you got to know my dad.
So over the past 4 or 5 years, I've been working kind of in the truther community. Did a little bit of ministry type work. Worked in some conspiracy, realms, and along that way, ran into Rob Skiba quite a few times, and eventually we started working together on a variety of different things. Hosted Virtual House Church with him since 2017. Then ran into him a bunch of times at some very controversial conspiracy conferences, the Flat Earth International conferences, and I was working on a documentary at the time, and along that route, established a relationship, and really over the years came to look at your dad, Rob, as a great role model. Really respected him. He had just had so many qualities that impacted really thousands and thousands of us, and I'm no different. He impacted my life as well in his constant, unrelenting pursuit of the truth, right? And so that's a brief mention of how I kind of got involved with your dad. It started back with working with my previous employer and hosting Virtual House Church, and eventually, me and Rob started a great relationship, and that's just kind of a little rambling mention of how I kind of know your dad. But through that relationship, it's just awesome that I was able to get to meet you, Jeremiah, and I'm excited for Skiba News Nation. I'm excited for just the breaking news, and sharing truth is so important. And today, there's a lot of people that aren't brave enough to stand on their beliefs, to step up and share the truth and shed light on the dark places of the world, right? And I'm just really excited to be a part of this, man.
Me too, man. Yeah, I love the conspiracy mindset of everything, because everything is a conspiracy, in my opinion. I guess.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, I'm getting
there's a little conspiracy in anything, right? Conspiracy just means a group of people that are working together to either hide the truth or to conspire to, create a change in our reality, whether it's for monetary gain, whether it's for political gain, whether it's, this or that. I think there's some interesting topics in terms of conspiracy, some things that we probably will never really know what the full truth is. But there's also things that are kind of coming to light, that whether it's people who were insiders coming out and sharing, information that sheds a different perspective on a topic, or whatever. But one thing I'm coming to the point to realize is, while, I might be wrong on a topic, I don't ever want to lie. And understanding how we view the world, it makes me want to investigate and find the truth. And, there's no problem with looking at different things, and truth doesn't shy away from an investigation, right? So
Well, yeah, I feel like the truth is in the conspiracy, and it exposes the bigger truth. And that's probably the main reason why I wanted to start the show, was to expose a whole lot of things. And
Absolutely.
just whatever's going on and whatever happens, in my life or your life, or, stuff like that. I can't really get into everything, but we got a couple
Well,
topics.
I know I talked a little bit about myself. Maybe share with the audience some more about you, Jeremiah. What are your interests been over the years? What kind of got you changing your perspective more towards a conservative, questioning perspective? Share some of that.
Well, I'm a musician, so this is not my strong suit, but I feel like it's very important, as being the son of Rob, to carry on his legacy. So started off as a musician and just saw the darkness in the world after he was gone, and I just want to expose it all, because he's greater than I'll ever be. I will never be my dad, but all I can do is carry on those type of things, like discussing with you. I chose you to be my co-host because you get it, if that makes sense. You get my dad, and I feel like we can bounce ideas off of each other.
I have everything figured out either, but I'm definitely up for, just diving into a wide range of topics and figuring out the truth of it, and just looking at these things that Rob was so passionate about, like I'm a Bible believer, number one, but because of my faith in like the scriptures and what we know about God and what he wants for humanity, that kind of gives me like kind of these glasses to wear when I look at topics in the world, because believe it or not, the Bible itself is a book of conspiracy theories, and I think Rob, more than most people, really championed that truth. He's like, look, this book talks about how the kings of the earth conspire together against the Most High, right?
Right.
So it's just like this great foundation, and I'm just so excited to get into some of these topics, man. And
Cool. Yeah, I think the show is going to be from, like I said, from our views to the news and everything in between, and seeking the truth in every single little thing that is going on in this world.
maybe like some content disclaimers, like, look, this is not for kids and for the soft stomached.
Yeah, this is definitely not for kids, but if you want to show your kids, that's your right. But I'm all for the freedom of speech and being able to express yourself freely, even if it might get us taken off YouTube. I pray that we don't, but that might happen, because I think if we cover every topic, there's some things that they don't really want us to talk about, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I totally hear that. Whenever I worked on the Flat Earth documentary I filmed going to all the different conferences, I noticed the very first red flags of censorship that were going out back in 2017, 2018 regarding the FE topic, right? And I noticed that they were removing videos and taking channels down, and this goes way back to just the controlled narrative, because we truly lived, I love to talk about this, Jeremiah, and I'd love to, maybe we can chat about it for a second, but we have come to the end of what I've lovingly referred to as the golden age of the internet. It's because of the past 15, 20 years of free dissemination of information that people have been able to share the alternative perspective to a lot of these super interesting conspiracies. And not only that, but it has also allowed the sharing of information of biblical truths, challenging age-old church doctrines, challenging, the beliefs of cosmology, for example. There's topics regarding conspiracies that would have been buried by, classified documents, but because people were able to access all of this information, whether it was through YouTube, whether it was through
Freedom of
blogs,
Information Act.
freedom of information, it's just amazing how many conspiracies were able to have their lid blown wide open, and unfortunately, we now live in a day and age where that golden age is coming to an end, Jeremiah, and that's when we see all the censorship. That's when we see the even the president of the United States kicked off of the public forum, of Twitter, right?
Don't even get me started on that. That's all kinds of messed up.
Talk about how crazy it is to think that there is a ultimatum being given to people who produce content, and that ultimatum is this: if your information, if your truth doesn't conform to the official narrative, then sorry, you can't play ball. You can't share your information anymore. You're going to be ostracized, you're going to be censored, you're going to be banned, you're going to be kicked off these platforms. And it makes sense that it's possible because all of these internet companies, right, they are private companies for the most part, and they can make rules to say who they want and who they don't want on their platforms. However, where it becomes alarming is when this same totalitarian information dictatorship is being applied to just anybody in general, even in the real world, everyday, go outside your house, you're not allowed to talk about this topic or that topic because it's offensive and you have to be politically correct.
Or you'll be called a domestic terrorist for wearing a MAGA hat. It's crazy.
Oh, they will throw anything label-wise at people that they want to censor, at people that they want to shut up, right?
Right.
And that's why this show, I'm so excited about this show, Jeremiah, is, whether or not we push the buttons of the beast, right, and they get angry and, try to shut this down on YouTube, good content and good truth, no matter where it pops up, will reach the people it needs to reach. And so, whether it means re-uploading these episodes to an alternative platform, that's fine. But, I think keeping the torch burning bright, holding truth up, and in a dark world where all these deceptions, all of these agendas are being pushed out on people, holding that torch of truth and shining a light is going to do good. And if it reaches one person and helps one person realize the deceptions that are being placed onto their life, then that's a mission well accomplished.
And that's what my dad was all about too, was exposing the truth, and that's where I want to continue. So many things hidden in their agenda that is now being exposed, which is pretty cool, in my opinion. And I always have to say that, in my opinion, because if I say it, I don't want to get in trouble or anything. It's crazy.
Yeah, and just letting people know that we are not experts. I'm not, an expert of gender studies, as a congresswoman said that she needed to be able to define what gender is. Yeah. But I do know logic. I do know rationale, and so do you, Jeremiah. And I think together we can go through these topics, and even me and you might have a difference of opinion, but
that's what this is all about. We should be able to have a discussion and it be okay and be friends at the end of the day. But in today's world, if you don't have the right opinion, the left opinion, then you're out. There's no middle ground. You can't have a friendship with somebody with a different opinion, and that's crazy to me. Where is all the common sense gone? That's what blows my mind every day. I don't know about you. I see it all the time.
Yeah, man, it's the problem with common sense is it's not as common as people think, right?
Nope.
And also, common sense is being redefined. Political correctness is being called the new common sense.
And it's killing comedy.
Political correctness is killing comedy. It's killing, the best comedy is truth. The best comedy points out at the uncomfortable truths that people aren't willing to speak in the public square. And when a comedian says it, it makes people laugh because they can see real, right? Real recognizes real. And that's what I want to be on this show. And I know that's what you want to be on this show. Is we just want to be real.
Well, and that's why I asked you to be my co-host, man, because you get real, and I respect that about you.
I'm honored. I'm honored, Jeremiah, to be on here and to be able to hash through some of these topics. So maybe let's give people an overview of what we're going to be talking about today, topic-wise. Maybe go through some of the things that are put on your heart to want to talk about, and then I'll share some thoughts I wanted to bring to the table as well.
Well, I don't know if you know or not, but I used to work at Amazon, and yeah, the craziness there is so insane. Like the way that they treat their workers and the way that they treat people of different races. Like they would, if you had lighter skin, you were called a racist pretty much in so many words, or you were the oppressor. And I remember during election season 2020, I was wearing a MAGA hat, and this lady comes up to me, this black lady came up to me and started screaming in my face, and I've got death threats on my car. They did nothing. I brought one of the death threats to the show with me to show you sometime. It's very frightening.
I can only imagine, some of the crazy just oppression that is being added in our system. And it's funny because the racism topic is such a parroted thing by left-leaning media and left-leaning politics, because it really does stir up a population to get into the voting booth right around, just like you said, election time. And the truth is that people being divided into race is a misconception. The truth is that people groups are actually divided by culture. We are divided into locations based on the people we surround our with, the tribes that we associate with, the family that we build up with ourselves. And the danger with race is it puts people into these categories based on color groups. And it's so ridiculous because, for example, a white guy here in the United States is different than a culture of a similarly toned person in Europe or in Russia, and it goes the same for darker skin tones or whatever. Not people cannot be isolated into these groups based on color, and unfortunately, it's being used as a tool.
That's all it is. Like you could wear a BLM hat or wear an Obama shirt or a Biden shirt and be okay at Amazon, but me wearing a Make America Great Again, four words on my hat could offend somebody that much, and the fact that nothing was done kind of blows my mind. They try to separate us, they tried to segregate us, and that's not right. I've always judged people on their character, not what they look like. I mean, that's what I was taught, but I guess they don't teach that anymore.
Yeah, they try to divide us left, right, black, white, but they know that when we're divided, if we're divided, we are bickering amongst ourselves. We're bickering as people groups, and we're all, at least here in the United States, we are all citizens of the United States for the most part. And when we're divided, that allows them to put out these agendas, put out the control, because we're not able to band together and turn against the system and call them out for their BS, their bull, right? And so, man, it's so frustrating to see that these big corporations are totally cut to the system. They are bowing down to the beast, so to speak, and that's why I think the big corporations, like you said, working for Amazon, they were one of the worst, right? Because the bigger the corporation, the more they have to be beholden to the beast, right? And the beast is, so to speak, the principles, the principalities that are wanting people to think, operate, behave, and follow a system of thinking that makes us better slaves, right? That's what they want people to be. And man, I'm sorry you went through that at Amazon. That's
a
terrible.
Great learning experience, but it was just, I started wearing it with the hat as like a source of pride. Like, you can't push me down. you can't keep me down on having my freedom of expression and my freedom of speech, which they were trying to take away from us at Amazon. They were trying to make us be vaxxed just to go inside the building. And around that time I quit, because I was like, my body, my choice, right? Which is what they push all the time on the left. But they're the most left-leaning company that I can think of, and for sure that I've ever worked for in the past.
The big corporate giants, they step on people the easiest because they're so huge that they just have these system-wide policies, and then people, they almost feel like they're in the right because they have such a backing to their ideology. I can be, against the oppressors because my boss and the boss's boss all the way up the corporate ladder are telling me fight back against the oppression,
Well, what's funny about that situation was my boss was on my side. He was a closeted Trump supporter, and all the people that worked on my side of the building were like so happy that I was speaking my mind and speaking up, and saw me as a voice for them. And that was an honor. And right after that I got fired / quit, whatever you want to call it. I left because there was nothing I could do in that situation. It was just toxic.
Those who don't buy into the media lies, those who don't buy into the liberalism that is being pushed through schools, through colleges, through politicians, and through our media, it's crazy that the most punk people right now are the people standing on conservative values, standing on biblical values even.
You stole my line,
You
man.
want to talk about...
Conservatism
Sorry,
is the new
man.
punk rock. You heard it here first. Jake.
That is such a potent line. It's just
It's the
mind-boggling.
truth. I mean, people see me and they can't believe that I'm a conservative. And that blows my mind. But it is. You're the outcast. You're the one that nobody wants to deal with if you're a conservative. So I just embrace it. And I feel strong when I do embrace it. Because that's one of the last things we have is our freedom.
Punk rock, man.
Punk rock, man.
I love it. Yeah, it's just so exciting almost, because if you're a champion of the truth and you're standing on your convictions and you're standing on your beliefs nowadays, you're stepping into a whole nother realm of just like overcoming this system, overcoming what they want people to be, which are these spineless, victim consciousness, sloths. Basically, they want people to totally fall into the system, and that'll bring me to one of the first little meme things I'd love to share with you.
Please. I love memes.
It's it's hilarious, and with this show, I'd love to bring as much visual content and interesting videos, funny memes, because really, it's one of the best things that have come out of the last 15 years of the internet, in my opinion, is the meme culture. So let me just share with you this funny meme. Sorry, I'm in my loading screen phase here as I gather my resources.
And people are more than welcome to send these in too, right? To submit at Skiba News Nation.
Shout out that email one more time. Please, anybody watching this, submit your best memes, your best news stories, anything cutting edge that you want presented on the show. And what was that email again?
It's submit at skibanewsnation.com. Or if you want to talk to me and Jake directly, it's Jeremiah at skibanewsnation.com. All right, I'm going to look over here. Here's the monitor.
Right on. So I wanted to share this meme with you. It's I support the current thing meme. And is this not so true, man? Like, this is literally how people are being brainwashed into pretty much believing and following and championing any topic that the news or the politics wants us to be championing.
That's so crazy.
And
it's true. That meme is the truest thing I've seen in a while. Like what's coming up where they change the logos to rainbows and all that. You can see it all in that picture, in the BLM fist. That's crazy.
Yep. Yeah, and oh man, it's really how we are being kind of culled. The herd is being culled, which means, this analogy is they are pretty much identifying the people that refuse to follow a narrative. And that's how they are separating the herd, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
So they're putting all the people that buy it, that promote it, that push these various agendas, and they're putting in the green zone. These are the people that we are okay with interacting with society. These are the people we're okay with sharing information because it's our information, you know? And man, how crazy. But, I wanted to share the I support the next thingy meme because there's a variety of topics today that I'd like to bring up and share with our audience here. There are a lot of agendas going out. And today I'd like to cover the agendas of, the war in Ukraine and the constant push for people to support one side over the other, right?
Yeah.
And this is in contrast to the fact that the United States literally did something very similar to what the Russian kind of conquest idea is, going into a nation and trying to establish what they would consider law and order versus a system that they believe is corrupt. This is exactly what the United States did in Iraq and Afghanistan.
Yep.
And yet we are being pushed to support the opposite side because it goes with a very particular narrative. And right off the bat, I don't want to say that I'm for one side over the other, but whenever we see that the media is hammering home on these topics so heavily, it really makes you question, what is the agenda here? Why are they pushing this stance so heavily? So that's one thing I'd like to share today, is in regards to this topic of war in Ukraine. Another topic I'd like to talk about briefly today is the talk about my body, my choice, right?
That's a real controversial one.
Oh, man. We recently got through, the past 2 years of being told your body doesn't matter, the greater good matters.
Yeah,
and
for the you have no control.
Yep.
You have to get it.
The big and
Yep.
it already, we've been flagged just by saying the word.
Okay, I'll say jab.
But it's
Is
very
that better?
interesting. Yeah, we'll have to come up with a code word, and we can let in everybody who's watching. They'll know what we're talking about. They'll know what we're saying. But, these are trigger words that we are already in 1984's novel
Yep.
of basically the totalitarian information controlling governments. And so, I'd also like to bring in this aspect of how this ideology of your body, not your choice, is in contrast to the left-leaning ideology supporting the abortion topic, which is all about my body, my choice.
Right.
Which is really just, when you think about it, it's such a direct contradiction. I wanted to talk a little bit about how the media is being directly sponsored and very openly sponsored by big pharma, by these companies that are pushing what has been called the most profitable product ever developed, which is what they have been giving people for the big COVID word, So, I would like to share a brief video that's super surreal, where, they're singing the words, "Thank God for abortion." And let's just look at this briefly, and then we can comment on it. This is a content disclaimer for the audience. This is extremely shocking, and this song might just get stuck in your head because it's so ungodly and shocking. It's just like trauma, basically. But I'm going to stop giving forewarnings, and we're going to go ahead and play this video here.
I'm killing the baby. It's the priest terrorizing my mother uterus.
as we travel about the world seeking the souls of men to help in the dark age us in battle. We are protection. We do thou, Prince of the heavenly host. We beseech thee that meditating upon these mysteries of the most holy rosary of the Blessed Virgin Mary, that we may imitate what they contain and obtain what they poured us. Do that.
Wow.
So there was a lot going on right there, man, and just, once again, back to our content disclaimer. This show is not for children. This is not for the weak of stomach. There's going to be language. There's going to be those things in this show.
Yeah.
But we have to share the insanity of scenes like that.
Well, it's time to wake people up. I mean, some people have no idea that this stuff is going on.
It's time to wake people up, man. It's just so shocking. So let's just cover a couple elements of this. Literally, you have the main spokeswoman there, a black woman, African American woman. I hate the term black people because there's no such thing as black people or white people.
Yeah, we're all American. We all bleed the same color.
We're Americans.
Yeah.
There's a variety of shades, but let's just say that community, that minority community, is the most affected by the abortion topic. Yeah. Millions of children don't live today, because that community is hyper targeted by the abortion topic, by the just the premise that it's okay to kill the child unborn in the womb.
And to do it so openly like that is so wrong and disgusting. It just...
Yeah.
And was there like a subliminal thing with the white baby? Was that part of her show, or she put the white mask on? Was that Putin?
Yeah, it was somebody. I couldn't make out who the mask was. I'm sure it was in reference to a political leader or something like that. But let's just let's talk about the lady standing back there, operating a choir of liberals singing the song "Thank God for Abortion."
And
right?
What were the Catholic people that were holding the rosary? They weren't trying to step in the way and stop anything, right? I mean, wouldn't you think that they would be a little bit louder, a little more vocal, like stop? I don't know.
Honestly, that's a whole other thing I want to address. Is it's very surreal what we are witnessing there, because we know, even as a church system at large, the Catholic Church has continually come under scrutiny for very bad things that priests do to children.
Yep.
And isn't it so interesting that you have the Catholic community standing up on the steps, kind of whispering their repetitive chants,
it's very culty.
Praying to Mary.
Very, very culty.
It was very surreal. This whole video is so surreal.
And they're both cults, I feel, on both sides. It's like
exactly.
the people holding their little beads.
Exactly. The people chanting to Mary who follow a guy with a boner hat, right? The Pope, who, covers up massive alleged child abuse situations.
Every day.
Covers up, and every day. These are the people saying, we want to keep children alive, and they're the ones standing on the steps. Really, at least you can throw that bone to the Catholic Church that the congregants of the Catholic community do stand up for children's rights. They stand up for against
maybe they
the
had the best
topic.
of intentions in their heart when they did it, but
it's just funny, the dichotomy here, that those representing a system that hides and covers up and has so much child abuse is in contrast to a system that wants to kill the children before they're even born, or kill the children right after they're born. And the woman singing the song "Thank God for Abortion," I just gotta say this right now, right? Their God is not the God of the Bible. Their God,
true,
whoever they're thinking is the God of their own minds, or Molech, the god of the ancient Canaanites, where they would pass the babies through the fire as a ritual for prosperity and wealth. And really, when we look at the abortion topic, the truth is that people kill the children in the womb because they want to preserve a future that they have idealized, and they believe that having a child will cause them to not be able to be prosperous, not be able to make as much money as they want, not be able to go to college.
So many different things.
We're so many different things about this video, and yet this topic that has just come about, in this past month, the recent controversy, which I believe personally is to stir up the voting base of the liberal left, because there's a bunch of disenfranchisement with liberal politics and left-leaning politics. They don't like how gas prices are shooting up. They don't like how the president is bumbling through his teleprompter quotes. They don't like how they're being represented, and they see that there is a big red wave coming in regards to the voting booth.
Well, they were lied to.
Coming election.
And they can finally see that they were lied to. And that's probably the only positive thing about this whole thing, is that they're waking up. We can only hope that they're waking up. Because if this continues, it's going to get so far out of hand that nobody can stop it. Nothing can stop it. But one thing.
And that's why the media is starting to promote crazy, things, making people fearful that, Planned Parenthood's going to be shut down and Roe versus Wade's going to be overturned. So that means the liberal crowd needs to go out there and vote. We can never just jump on the side of, oh, hey, it'd be so great that Roe versus Wade is overturned, because the truth is it was probably something that won't be touched by the Supreme Court, and that was leaked by the left politicians in order to stir people up to be willing to vote during voting season. And man, there's just
now they're
so
showing
much
up
surreal
at people's houses with signs. And Brett Kavanaugh, I saw something about him, and they were just rioting in front of their houses. I don't even know how to describe it. It's like a whole different world than what it was like a year ago or 2 years ago.
And this goes straight into what we started with, was the I support the next current thing meme, right?
Yep.
Well, I remember just months ago where the same crowd of people were basically venomously attacking anybody who would stand up for bodily autonomy in regards to medical decisions, right?
Yep.
And we all know what the medical decision was that came down and was basically a leprechaun contract, where you had to decide that you loved your job and you wanted to go through with a bodily decision that the system wanted to enforce upon all of the Western world and all the countries across the world, that put people in a pen and made them choose. Do you like your livelihood? Do you like your gym? Do you like your movie theater, your concert, your favorite bands playing? And you need to receive something, a little squirt into your arm, you could say. And
or we could play charades and I can act it out what they're doing to people. Very crazy. Beforehand, before all of this stuff going on, it was the flu shot, and they wouldn't let they wanted to put mandates in place for the flu, and then he saw where things were going and did that video, and now everybody knows him from that video, which is great. I mean,
stick a clip of Rob being a forerunner in regards to the medical decision that is being forced upon mankind right now, and he warned people way back, years ago, that this is going to be used on the population for nefarious means.
Now, if my theory is true, Dr. Thomas Horn and others speculate on this, how something like this might happen with regard to a pandemic. Again, in true Hegelian style, Hegelian dialectic is where you cause a problem which causes a reaction that you just so happen to have the solution for, already ready to go, right? So, okay, just imagine this. Whoever they are, they're responsible for everything, right? Release a really bad flu pandemic of some sort. Well, imagine this. If you don't get the shot that they've got all ready to go for you, no shot or cure means, well, you don't have a job. Somebody mentioned last night their job requires them to take the flu shot. And if they don't get the flu shot, they lose their job. So we're already seeing kind of a microcosm of that happening right now, a test. Got to take the shot. Or you can't be a teacher in school, or you can't work at CVS or whatever. You got to take the shot. So they're already making it mandatory for some people. So we've got a little miniature test going on with that. If you don't take it, there's no cure, no job, you end up being quarantined. Oh, you don't want to take the shot? You don't want to take what really I believe is going to be the mark of the beast? Well, fine, you're going to have to be quarantined. Bring you over here. Well, that means you're not going to have any money, which means you won't be able to buy or sell. That seems to be a good explanation to me to explain why they can't buy or sell, but also explain why they beg for death, but death flees from them. Because they can't die, right? So that's if you don't take the shot, you end up with no job, quarantine, no food, or no food, no buying or selling. But if you do take the shot, well, you have some interesting side effects. It's like those commercials, where you always see the drug that they're offering. Side effects may include drowsiness, blah, 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 Take the shot. Side effects may include counterfeit immortality, not redeemable, and cast alive into the lake of fire. Ask your doctor if it's right for you. All right, I'm joking about it, but it's serious. That's some serious business right there.
And there's a couple things that, as we transition from the, abortion topic, which is my body, my choice,
Yep.
and we now move towards the medical mandate topic, which is your body, government's choice, your body, employer's choice, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's some very interesting things I wanted to, some more memes that I'd like to share with everyone. Is
All right, meme it up. I'm ready.
all right, so check this out. Here's the recent, new thing I follow, or new thing people are told to follow, right? It's we stand with Ukraine, and we should supply them with weapons. We should supply Ukraine to fight Russia. But it's also my right for an abortion, right? We just covered this topic. And then straight into, after the tragic, recent school shooting, which we'll cover briefly, now it's take away our right to bear arms to protect children.
Yep.
And so it's just topic after topic, pushing agenda after agenda. And the truth is, Jeremiah, is trauma sells. Trauma is what gets people to basically fold on their beliefs and give in to whatever they're being told. Because when you're traumatized, when you're feeling that emotional just pain that happens when you see terrible images, or you see things that just make your stomach sick.
They're trying to scare us.
You look exactly,
because it gets more views, it gets more people on to obey what they're saying, and they're just trying to push it to the forefront and make everybody bow down to whatever the agenda is of the day. And like what you were saying about sending money to Ukraine or sending weapons to Ukraine, what about the border? We have problems here in America, but they don't talk about it. And the first thing they do is bring up politics right after kids died. Like, that's so crazy to me.
Yep.
After a tragedy like
there's
that.
Check this news article out. It's a statement that Trump gave after. You might need to put me on full screen. I'm a little cut off there. Basically, Trump called out the fact that so much money is being sent in support of Ukraine and the Russia-Ukraine war, and this same money could be used to defend public schools, to put a guard who could stand and protect people. And this is all in reference, of course, to the tragic school shooting that happened in Texas.
Yep.
And I think the numbers were really interesting, but $54 billion is being sent to Ukraine since Russia invaded in February, and basically the math works out that if that same amount of money were to be spent on elementary schools and public school systems, that we could have a guard in every single school funded for the rest of yours and my lifetime, protecting our children from these deranged, pharmaceutical pill laden up crazy people. Oftentimes, you know, these people that come in and there's all these you know, controversial things tied to this story, such as the fact that, you know, police were standing outside, not
and
willing
parents
to
were
go
going
in and stop.
or trying to get in, and they were prevented from going in. That's not
man.
okay. And the door was propped open. And I'll just tell this story. I mean, my girlfriend, she's a teacher, and she said that's the number one rule that they teach the teachers, is never leave a door propped, ever.
Yep.
And they left it
There's
open.
more to meet the eyes to this school shooting thing. You know, just the fact that, you know, there was parents outside anguishing because the police were just sitting there doing nothing while the Texas shooter went and just was shooting children, and just the trauma that, can you imagine the mental anguish that is being sent out to the Western world today, that even elementary school students that are hearing about the facts that an alleged gunman was going through shooting people and the police weren't even going in to stop him. How do you think that makes people feel that are in school right now, that are children? How safe do you think they are now that they know that the police, even if there was a shooter, will stand outside and wait for him to do his dues and do the deed, and you're pretty much on your own?
Right.
And that is a trauma that is going out in the in the ethosphere or whatever, that people are tapping into this mindset that you're not safe. We need to do something about this. We need to take the guns away. That's the answer, of course, that's being presented by the media.
Well, like my girlfriend's on call right now. She can actually speak, but there is a why don't you go ahead and say, like, what precautions are taken at your school versus this school?
So I watched a lot of video of, the day it happened. We watched it for hours, just live footage of what was going on and waiting for them to go in and do something about the shooter and save the kids. And I was noticing he hopped over a fence, and the fence that he hopped over was like a 4-foot, 5-foot fence, easily hoppable. Like, I'm 5'3", like I could have hopped that fence. And then he obviously went into a prop door from a teacher, which is a big, big no-no. And the school that I work at, my classroom is a portable. We like to call them learning cottages to try to make it a little fancier, I guess. And so I feel like I'm a sitting duck out there if someone had a gun, because a bullet could easily go through those portable walls. They are made of nothing. And but the fences that we have right outside of the portables are 7-foot tall fences, and there's no way somebody's gonna hop that. And so just like things that are so simple, like a fence, just the height of a fence can make such a big difference.
And they weren't even it's kind of convenient for this school, you know? It just makes you think,
Yeah.
you know, what really happened? What were the real reasons behind it? Was it planned? It's not.
Well, and then Ted Cruz, right, came out and said that he blamed it on video games and the violence in video games and how that's causing, that's just like the cause of why this happened. And it's not even scraping the surface of the cause, because it's mental health. Like this kid was not right. And it doesn't matter if he was playing video games or not, or what kind of video games he was playing. That mixed with the mental illness is what's gonna caused these horrible tragedies to happen. So I don't really know why Ted Cruz came out and said that. I mean, is he trying to block video games? Like, I don't get it.
It could be a blend of the two. I mean, who knows?
Yeah. Well, that's often kind of the narrative that comes from the conservative side. Is it's usually, hey, video games are bad and such and such. And on the left, it's always, oh, guns are bad, guns are bad. But the truth of the matter is, consistently, just like you said, is mental health is a recurring pattern in all of these candidates and people that have committed these atrocities. And if you look back at the track record, a vast majority of the people that have committed these terrible acts and shootings, they were on a wide range of pharmaceutical prescription drugs that deal with psychotic disorders. And my personal opinion is that there are certain pills and things that make people dissociate from reality, and that's how, of course, they're trying to treat the person's psychotic disorder, but the dissociation with reality paired with the video games, perhaps paired with whether it's coaxing or coaching from media or TV that's ultra violent, and then while they dissociate from reality because of the pills they're on, they can then go and do these things and probably don't even realize that they're doing. Well, I mean, of course they.
Well, it's like the
probably
virtual
realize,
reality. What if he was
exactly?
He almost didn't know where his brain ended and the game began. Stuff like that nobody thinks about.
The disassociation that they get you want to do on these pills, that's to their benefit. So they don't want to really help mental health. They just want to medicate, numb you.
Yeah.
And that's part of the issue too, that they're not actually treating the disorder, because it's going to do them more benefit to have these sheep running around that aren't thinking critically about what's really in front of them, and they can pull whatever they want over our eyes.
Exactly. It makes me want to call out the proponents of the hologram theory. We have very famous people like Neil deGrasse Tyson, right? The high priest of scientism, and guys like even Elon Musk, who propose that a proper, a possible way of viewing reality is hologram theory, which is been talked about on podcasts like Joe Rogan and various places, where they believe that it is possible that because of the consistent advance of civilization, that it is possible that we have advanced so far, and we don't really know how advanced we could be, to the point that if we are, as a society, as a culture, have become smart enough to produce computers and synthesized realities, to the place where we could have at some point placed our minds, our consciousnesses, into a hologram type video game world, that this is a accurate way of possibly looking at reality. To believe that we live in a hologram, to believe that we live in a quote unquote video game, goes right in line with this dissociative issues of the psychotic shooters that go and shoot people up. Because how is it any different than playing Grand Theft Auto and going and beating up a bunch of people and shooting all the cops and doing that in a video game in our current reality, which is just a video game? If if people like that are promoting the belief that we live in a hologram and it's literally just a synthesized reality, then no wonder people that probably are followers of these very high-ranking, pop culture people are able to then possibly go and enact basically the fundamental end game of hologram theory, which would be nothing matters. There's no morality. Nothing truly has any long-lasting consequences. Nothing truly is right or wrong, but rather we live in a synthesized understanding of creation. And of course these same people will come full-fledged against Bible-believing, God-fearing people that believe in a creator or believe that alternate view of reality as opposed to what we're taught in schools.
They do concerts now, like with Roy Orbison and Buddy Holly and holograms, and how easy it is for them to put a dead person on stage blows my mind. So if they can do that, what are they capable of?
Yeah.
Just a question.
I mean,
I would love to see Elvis live, but other than that, I mean, who knows?
I mean, it's so cool. It's so cool that it's possible to the technology level we're at,
But
even
it's scary,
today. It's
too.
also scary. It's also terrifying how they can use it for evil as well as for good, right? And it is all leading to a Ready Player One type world where you just put on the goggles, you plug into the system, and then you live a life that is the life of your choosing. Like, a very popular show was Westworld, which is this whole premise of going into this synthesized reality and being able to shoot people and do this or that. And, a terrible show, don't recommend it. However, the theme is something that we see being pushed on the world consciousness as it is. And it makes me see things like this Texas shooting and how it happened and how the psychotic manipulation from our media, from our video games, from our TV shows and our movies are literally leading people to probably have the mindset that would allow them to go and commit these atrocities. And there's some really interesting predictive programming that I wanted to share with you guys that is so shocking. It's in regards to two very, very successful and popular TV shows that were released literally within the week of this Texas school shooting.
All right, let's see it.
And it's so crazy. So
mind-blowing.
I know Rob, I shared this love of Star Wars that, your dad also loved Star Wars.
Biggest Star Wars fan ever. Like, I don't know anybody that loves Star Wars more than he did. So
it was, my childhood growing up, and I know he was super into it as well. And just recently, the Obi-Wan Kenobi series was released on Disney Plus, and it is interesting that after this traumatizing news comes out of these children being shot and killed, guess what? The very opening scenes of Star Wars Obi-Wan Kenobi are in regards to the Order 66, which had a terrifying
66.
scene where,
It's an interesting
66,
number.
666, where, Anakin and the stormtroopers go into the Jedi Temple and they just massacre a bunch of children. And this is being released in conjunction with this breaking news story. And they're filling people's minds with the traumatizing images of these stormtroopers going through. And, look, it Star Wars Kenobi breaks Disney viewership record. And guess what the opening scenes were? The terrible shots of them basically, annihilating children, massacring children.
That's
and
crazy.
People are associating in their subconsciousness the deadly school shooting that's being publicized all over the news with the scenes that they're seeing of just these children running for their lives. And isn't this that this coincided, this release of this choice scene coincided with this school shooting? And
super convenient. What can we say? It's almost too
hammering
convenient.
home an agenda. It's hammering home the gun control agenda. It's hammering home the just the trauma that it's inducing on the population, because a scared population is an obedient population. But that could have just been a coincidence. They're just, of course, in the timeline, it's between episode 3 and 4, and they're given backstory as to why the Jedi are in hiding. I get it. Interesting. However, there's another show that came out on the same day.
Really?
The very same day. And guess what opening scene this show had? Well, the show I'm referring to...
It's a shooting. It'd be too convenient if it is.
it wasn't necessarily a shooting, but it was a scene full of gory, graphic violence towards children, and it is the show Stranger Things, right?
Yeah, I saw that being
And
released.
in the opening scene of this show, there was graphic violence showing many children dead and covered in blood. And it's tied to the backstory of this main character here, who's a psychic girl, and she ends up killing all these other children in her quote unquote psychic school. But
Spoiler alert.
just
Anybody out there?
spoiler alert, but
But it is very
just
sketchy. Very, very sketchy.
man, it's going hand in hand with this agenda of gun control, this agenda of fear and trauma, and it's just like almost too coincidental, if you know what I mean. That
Way too coincidental.
it's just so crazy.
I can't believe
So
that.
yeah, those are just the two shows that were released literally on the same day, that both had opening scenes of many children being killed and massacred, and this coincides with the fear porn and the trauma being
But
pushed
the
out.
left
with
has
this
nothing
tragic-
to do with this, I promise. Watch the
Yeah,
show, like they're trying to brainwash us.
Yeah,
Like your song, Wake Up, People. Like, wake up.
Wake up the people. Like,
Yeah.
literally, wake up. There's something fishy. There's something fishy. And I'm not a event denier. Like, I don't deny that this thing happened. There's guys like Alex Jones, right, who are, like, zipping their mouths shut because, they were under, legal, they were being sued for speaking out against inconsistencies in the Sandy Hook narrative, for example.
And he got
But,
banned on all
whenever
platforms.
we see things like this, it got banned on all platforms just for, I think referring to the topic that it didn't all meet the eye. And really, when we look at topics like this, it's not that we don't have compassion towards the tragic loss of the parents and the just appalling nature of this shooting and what the people were going through as they stood outside waiting for the cops to do something, and they refused. But the truth of the matter is that terrible things like this are used by the powers at large to push narratives, to push agendas, and they use trauma, they use fear to convince the population to do what they think is good, but really, in fact, is possibly very bad in terms of keeping things like this from happening. And, let's get into the reasons gun control personally I believe is a very dangerous topic. Is, first of all, a gun is not the one to blame. It is the person holding the gun.
Yeah, guns kill, but the people are the ones using it. I mean, 101, gun ownership. Like, you have to be safe with your firearm.
Exactly. Yeah, a cigarette doesn't kill you unless the person,
Exactly.
It's the act. It's the person doing the act that makes it a bad or good thing. And unfortunately, populations that are unarmed are often trampled by their governments. They are often trampled.
Communism.
We see this
pretty
in
much.
Communist countries. The disarming of population, like the communities in Germany during World War II, that had atrocities committed against them.
Yep.
They were unarmed, and then bad things happened. This is consistent with populations in China that had dictatorship, communist governments come in and just like control and hurt and basically just murder populations. They had to be unarmed.
It's, I don't remember who called it, but it's fear porn, isn't it? It's meant to scare you. It's meant to dumb people down and to obey. That's what it is.
Yeah, I think, unfortunately, in the conspiratorial crowd, there's always slippery slopes where, they they go to a far extreme of making truth claims when they really don't know. So an example would be, oh, look, the creators of Obi-Wan Kenobi put all this trauma, or the creators of Stranger Things put all this trauma in, and it was actually a ritual, and they're the ones who are behind the school shooting. Like, stuff like that is the slippery slope of the conspiracy community, where these outrageous claims can be made. However,
and that's not the full truth, you know?
Exactly.
And
yeah. We can't.
Between both of those is where you find the real truth. There is conspiracy and there is reality, and then you have to find the middle ground, or you can't find the truth, right?
Exactly. And that's what they want conspiracy-minded people to do, is to take the ball and run with it and make outrageous claims that they themselves can't prove. But what we can prove is that there are agendas, that there are things that are being, put out to control a population, and things like this, perhaps they weren't even intending to include those scenes, and they saw that this traumatizing event happened, and they intended to release that part of the visuals to induce more trauma and to make people more likely to support their anti-gun legislation and stuff. And oh man, having a balanced view on conspiracies, having a balanced view is super important, because uncovering the truth, there's oftentimes a trick that is used where they want people to take a bite on the most juicy topic, and when you take a bite, then they can discredit you.
And they try to make you seem crazy if you believe any part of the conspiracy. It's like the JFK assassination. If you have any other viewpoint, you're a conspiracy theorist. I don't understand that.
Which in itself is an interesting topic. They recently, under Biden, they were supposed to release all the declassified documents regarding JFK. And I know we should probably do like a full, segment,
episode
at some
on
point
that.
talk about this. Yeah. But isn't it interesting that even after all this time, Biden still decided to keep some redacted files?
And now let me ask you this. Trump did release files when he was president. Do you think he would have released the whole thing if he was still president?
That's a good question. It makes me wonder how much truly a president is allowed to do, or how much a president is actually has access to the real true information. Like, is it kept by these secret agencies, and even the president himself doesn't have access to the full picture? Or do they have access and they're forced to keep their mouths shut? I don't know.
Well, I think that they showed them the clip of the JFK assassination and say, if you talk at all about this is what will happen to you. They show them the Zapruder film, and I mean that's my conspiracy-minded opinion on it. But who really knows, But he did a lot more in releasing files than any other president ever has since then.
Oh yeah, like for example, the UFO disclosure came out under the Trump administration, and there was pre-programming in regards to that as well. I don't know if you remember the Storm Area 51 event where the guys were running like with Naruto arms.
Yeah, and they had like the masks on, and they almost made like a rave out of it, I think, right?
Yeah, that was super covered by the media at large because it was such a funny kind of thing. Like, oh, Storm Area 51 event, 1 million people are going to show up in Storm Area 51. It
started as a joke.
But a lot of people, it started as a joke, and not too many people actually showed up to the actual event.
Yeah.
But
they all signed up.
What was interesting was, oh yeah, they did sign up. But what was interesting is while that was super covered by the media, did you know that 1 week after the Storm Area 51 event is when all of the declassified documents from the United States Air Force, the Navy, and real deal UFO alien disclosure was kicked out to the population just 1 week after that Storm Area 51 event? And that was very seldomly covered by the news, but they focus hyper in on this kind of like crazy event. And it was just a really interesting year when all of that information came out, showing that there truly are, things going on in the heavens that we don't understand. And of course,
we could do a full episode about
know,
that too. I mean, there's so many different, theories of what they are. Are they in the sea? Are they from the sky? Where are they from?
And it's just such an interesting topic. And I know, this is one of Rob's beloved areas of research, and I tend to agree with his stance that a lot of these are probably spiritual entities. These are angels or demons or whatever, and they're from this realm. They're not from outer space. They're not
the
from
media
other
wants you to
planets.
think that they're like ET, that they're lovable and huggable, but they're probably not. I agree with you and my dad 100%.
I'd love to talk more about this topic. I know, like, we could do a whole broadcast just breaking down the UFO, alien, and
Next
all
episode.
that kind of information.
That's the next
is
episode.
so interesting. I'm up for it.
Let's do it.
I got another picture and another short video for you.
All right, let's see it.
All right, check this out. Scientists tend to agree 100% with the people who are funding them.
That's the truest statement I've ever heard.
It's just amazing, the expert opinions in regards to the V topic, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the consensus in the hospitals regarding protocols. And I know, this is a very important topic that we can talk about very soon, regarding what is done to people medically, and how just basically there is a massive money machine cranking out pharmaceutical products, which are basically witches' brews, right?
Yeah,
and
we know
these
all about
things
that
are being
firsthand, which is scary, and it's a real thing.
Real thing. And let's look at this short video on why it was pushed so heavily over the past 2 years by our news media, to the point where people were foaming at the mouth, fearful, and people were just totally beholden to the system. Let's look at this video here.
To you by Pfizer. CBS Health Watch sponsored by Pfizer. Anderson Cooper 360. Brought to you by Pfizer. ABC's Nightline.
Brought to you by Pfizer. Making a difference. Brought to you by Pfizer.
CNN Tonight. Brought to you by Pfizer. Early Start. Brought to you by Pfizer. Friday night on Aaron Burnett Out Front. Brought to you by Pfizer.
This Week with George Stephanopoulos is brought to you by Pfizer.
This weather report brought to you by Pfizer.
Today's countdown to the royal weddings brought to you by Pfizer.
And now a CBS Sports Update brought to you by Pfizer.
Meet the Press Data Download. Brought to you by Pfizer.
This portion of CBS This Morning sponsored by Pfizer.
On how to find the hidden sugars in the American family diet. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Man.
I love how the video ends with, "This video was not sponsored by Pfizer."
That's what I was about to
man.
say. Skiba News Nation is brought to you by Pfizer.
Yeah, I think that's an important disclaimer to put in there, because
They've had more failures than they've had good things happen. Have you ever looked at the lawsuits of Pfizer?
Yeah, man. Just briefly, but there are many recalls and suits against their pharmaceutical products that are causing
we should trust them, right?
Damages.
We should trust them.
Yeah, but they're trustworthy.
Yeah.
And this is something very important to mention, is that during the pandemic, a lot of the products that were pushed out on the American population and the whole world, in fact, were authorized under emergency use authorization. And what a lot of people don't realize this means is that they are not liable for suit.
Yeah, we're lab rats.
Because they're
treating humans like lab rats.
Exactly. And it's all called for the greater good, so to speak. All all pushed on mankind. But this leads into the next very brief video that I really wanted to share, which is a short video of the World Economic Forum in regards to how the recent pharmaceutical push of a lot of these products was one of the most profitable in history, and how there are some very, very interesting, just terrifying ideologies coming out of the most rich, wealthy people in the world.
I think it's pretty sketchy that doctors get a cut of every drug that they prescribe. Everything that is, given by a doctor, they get a commission. Why is that okay? It's not okay. I mean, it's not being looked at, and the news and everybody else, they just kind of put that in the background. They don't put it to the forefront, but that's a real issue. And just with this whole lockdown thing, it's very crazy how they're able to program your mind into believing what they're saying so that the doctors can get a cut, and so the government can get a cut after they already get a cut. You know what I mean?
But I got this video, and it's in regards to this topic with my body, my choice, your body, the government's choice, right? Yep. And I just want to preface watching this video, and then we can talk about it afterwards, is we learn from the scriptures that the love of money is the root of all evil, right?
Yep.
Because personal gain, monetary gain, can justify so many atrocities. It's the premise of the computer programmer who makes a computer virus and then sells the antivirus to help, and we are going through such a transition stage in the world, and this video of the World Economic Forum of 2022 is so shocking, just some of the things that are mentioned. So let's watch this briefly.
Chip that it is in the tablet, and once you take the tablet and dissolves into your stomach, sends a signal that you took the tablet. So imagine the applications of that, compliance. The insurance companies to know that the medicines that patients should take, they do take them. It is fascinating what happens in this field.
We're developing, through technology, an ability for consumers to measure their own carbon footprint. What does that mean? That's, where are they traveling? How are they traveling? What are they eating? What are they consuming on the platform? So, individual carbon footprint tracker. Stay tuned. We don't have it operational yet, but this is something that we're working on.
We want vaccines that are infection blocking and long duration, which today, the vaccines have saved millions of lives, but they don't have much in the way of duration, and they're not good at infection blocking.
Yeah. You vaccinate not only for yourself, you vaccinate also to protect society, and particularly to protect those that you love the most, because they are the ones that you are together.
The rise in billionaires has been, unprecedented during the pandemic, and there's been several sectors where that has been mostly concentrated, and one is in fact the pharma sector, because COVID has been one of the most profitable products ever. So that's... Did
you hear that? She literally just said COVID has been the most profitable product ever. Oh man. All right, I'll keep playing it here. This is just crazy.
One point to discuss and our report out today is called Profiting from Pain, how those delays in making this technology available and really having people vaccinated early has contributed to that. It's not only the direct health impacts, but it's the economic, social impacts on all parts of the population, and in reality, an increase in inequality, reversing the trend of the last few years where, inequality had reduced between rich countries and poor countries. Unfortunately, now it has widened, and the statistic we're saying is every 30 hours, a new billionaire was minted during the pandemic, and in the same rate, in 2022, 1 million people are falling into extreme poverty.
You can run around the planet, and there isn't any country on the planet that isn't feeling and living the impacts of the climate crisis. Droughts, fires, mudslides, floods, storms with greater intensity that comes from the increased moisture coming from the ocean, which comes from the increased heat going into the ocean, because 90% of the warming of the planet goes into the ocean. And the oceans, they are at risk. The chemistry changing faster than they have in millions of years. And you can't solve the problem of the oceans if you don't solve climate. You can't solve the problem of climate if you don't solve the ocean. And people need to understand that 51% of the oxygen we breathe comes from the ocean. So we're dealing with a crisis here, folks. It's a crisis made by human beings.
How many vaccinations do we need in the future? It's a very good question. And I think, first of all, I think we will need vaccinations in the future, but also I'm concerned that the compliance of the population with the recommendations of the experts will not be very high.
It is basically biological chip that it is in the tablet. And once you take the tablet and dissolves into your stomach, sends a signal that you took the tablet. So imagine the applications for that. Compliance.
More people did the first dose, and then lesser did the second, and then lesser will do the third and the fourth. And so for that reason, we need to find a solution that makes it easy for people to get. And I think this solution, it is the number one priority is to have a vaccine that lasts a year. So once people know that it is once a year, I do it every autumn, for example, fall, I think that will improve the amount of people that they are getting.
I think you also certain attempts to combine it with a anti-flu vaccine.
That is another very good way to make it, to improve compliance. If someone thinks that I'm going to go to the doctor or to the pharmacy, but at least with one shot I will get two, flu and that also will increase the number. So these are the things. It's very difficult to improve the efficacy of it. It's very, very high. But what you can improve it is how convenient it is and how can last the efficacy for a longer period of time.
We want vaccines that are infection blocking and long duration, which today, the vaccines have saved millions of lives, but they don't have much in the way of duration, and they're not good at infection blocking.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah, and man, just what are your initial thoughts on that video?
Compliance. That's the word I heard the most. And it's kind of frightening. They're going to force it upon us, right?
Compliance is something I know that, at least scripturally speaking, is straight associated with a mark of the beast topic, right? Mm-hmm. Like you can't buy or sell unless you have this mark on your hand or on your forehead. And this is something that I know Rob was very cutting edge in talking about. And right now we're in this really interesting phase where it's not forced compliance, it's coerced compliance. It's here's the contract, you signed the contract, and you're culpable, you're liable.
Yep.
But as long as you don't participate, as long as you aren't so beholden to the system, you can avoid the curse. You can avoid the obligation to have to, bow to the beast, so to speak. And
as long as you
this
stand
is also
up,
tied.
You got to stand up
Yep.
to it. It's crazy.
Now's the time to have some spine, right?
Right.
It's really unfortunate because it's often our comforts and our desire to live life a certain way that causes us to give our rights up because we don't want to give up the things we like, whether it's
which is
going
life.
to the movie theaters.
And
life.
And bringing your kids to the, like you said, the movie theaters, or to go into anywhere. They're trying to make it where you have to have it, which is exactly what you're saying.
The verse that should be flashing on Bible believers' minds is, come out of Mystery Babylon so you don't partake in her plagues and in her judgments. And this is truly the most prevalent recent example of how, if you are so in love with your lifestyle, if you're so in love with the system and the comforts that come along with it, that it is leading people into this kind of cattle corral that's going straight towards a slaughter. It's leading people to make these decisions that they have the opportunity, they have the free will to refuse. They have the free will to leave that job, to stand up and walk out, to not participate. But there's a hook. It's like a fishing game, man, and the system wants to hook you, and so that you come to them begging for basically their morality, their comforts, their protection. And with that is a cost, and it's a great cost that I don't think a lot of people are aware of.
They're trying to back us up into a corner to where, you know, you quit this job and now you can't get a job. You can't get it at all because you have to have what they're talking about. I don't want to say it, but you have to do it. So that's the double-edged sword, right? That's what you're kind of the double-edged sword that you were talking about.
All right, check this out. If social media were in Jesus' times, local carpenter with extremist views continues to spread disinformation deemed harmful by the religious experts. Right? Man, this is exactly what's happening in today's world.
Yep.
That people who are standing up for conservative values, that are people who are standing up for their beliefs, their bodily autonomy, their my body, my choice, but in the righteous sense, not the abortive baby killing sense, that these people are being called disinformation terrorists. These people are the ones that are being flagged by the U.S. government. There's recent articles that have come out and have talked about those who spread harmful misinformation.
Which is
Must
truth.
be, you know,
the truth is the misinformation. They're trying to hide the truth right in front of you.
It's you know, the whole topic of gas prices and climate change that was even talked about in that World Economic Forum, about how, you know, we need to be able to track people's compliance, and if they're being good citizens for the worldwide stage, to make sure we're not, you know, causing too much climate change. And we have the Greta Thunbergs going out there crying on national TV and basically convincing people to give up their rights to governments. And really, governments are for those who need to be governed, right?
Yep.
And really, it's lawless, evil, sinful populations that have all types of vices that need more governance, because they kind of eat themselves alive. They don't know how to behave. They don't know what to do. And the truth is that a righteous, set apart, or God-fearing population needs less government because they are going to take care of their environment. They're going to not kill their neighbor. They're going to not steal things because they're following a higher law. They're following a higher power. But in the circumstance of climate change, and just like the outrageous fuel prices that are happening right now, there's of course this interesting meme, and it says this: every time you hear the term fossil fuel on TV, radio, news, etc., you're being lied to. In 1892, at the Geneva Convention, the smartest man in the oil industry, J.D. Rockefeller, paid scientists to call it a fossil fuel, call oil a fossil fuel, to induce the idea of scarcity in order to set a world price for oil. The truth is that oil is actually the second most prevalent liquid on Earth next to water, and it regenerates within the Earth faster than it could ever be depleted. And yet, today, we're looking at prices at the gas pump that are superseding, like, far more than we have ever seen historically. But yet, just 2 years ago, oil was being sold for $0 a gallon. You could literally pull up a tanker and have them fill it up for free. You know, there's some crazy things happening in the world today, and there's these agendas that are being pushed out, such as, like, oh, climate change. We have to take care of the environment. We have to transition.
Fuel is bad, you know. Save the trees.
Gas is bad, and it just goes right along with the agendas that are being pushed by the World Economic Forum, by the Great Reset, as they wanted to call it. They wanted to use trauma. They wanted to use these global events, such as the war in Ukraine. They want to use events like the shooting that happened in Texas to push these agendas, and so they're not going to let any trauma or any event go to waste. And that's exactly what was quoted in that video we watched of the World Economic Forum, of the woman who said, this is, COVID was one of the most profitable things in history because of pain. And they said, use pain for gain. Or I'm misquoting that, but it was something along those lines.
It's all about money. All of it. And so the guy at the top can keep making money, and while we struggle, the normal person struggles.
Yep. I mean, it's love of money is the root of all evil, and there's definitely a lot of money flowing into the medical industry right now. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
There's a lot of money flowing into the hands of the Ukrainian government over there to continue on a conflict, in regards to, the Russian-Ukraine war. Man, it's just so crazy, the world we live in. And all right, Jeremiah, I got to show you this really crazy video. It's kind of interesting because, a lot of people are being pushed into supporting the Ukraine side of the Ukraine-Russia conflict. And of course, we know that money could be redirected. Instead of arming Ukraine, we could be defending children in schools with that same money. But I wanted to show this interesting video of George W. Bush mistakenly referring to Iraq in his speech instead of Ukraine when addressing an unjustified invasion. It's kind of hilarious, but here's this clip.
Oh my gosh.
Russian elections are rigged. Political opponents are imprisoned or otherwise eliminated from participating in the electoral process. The result is an absence of checks and balances in Russia and the decision of one man to launch a wholly unjustified and brutal invasion of of Ukraine. Iraq. Anyway.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Oh man, so I just had to show you that, just because
that was the most incredible gaffe I've ever seen. Like
he's literally describing what he did in Iraq.
He's such a rhino.
There's a angel in the whirlwind and many poppy fields that we need to conquer. It's just crazy, man, that the American populace is being swooned into supporting this conflict. Of course we shouldn't have a dog in the race. The Russians feel they're justified, that it's a breach of treaty and that there's a corrupt government and that genocide's happening from their perspective. And from our American political machine perspective, we're saying, oh, Russia's a big bad guy, they shouldn't be interfering in the affairs of a small little country. And then we're speaking from two sides of our mouth because we're doing the very same thing Russia's doing, and we did it in Iraq and Afghanistan during the wars, and
so
the
hypocritical. They're just acting so hypocritical because they tell you to do one thing and then they do the exact same thing that they tell you not to do, or they tell others not to do.
Yeah, and we just passed through Memorial Day weekend, and this is not to be disrespectful to people who have served in the military, but the truth of the matter is, and many military people will come out and admit this, is that the premise that a lot of these conflicts are started under are complete lies, and they are used to justify war and justify all these crazy conflicts. And in the same world where we're condemning the Russians, Biden is sending bombs to blow up supposed ISIS people and ends up killing children
and leaving our troops over there, just leaving Americans.
Just a crazy world, man. And there's a lot of more stuff to unpack, and I know in the future episodes we're gonna really get into the meat in a lot of these topics, and I'm excited to for us to share our thoughts and our opinions and
Me too, man.
unpack the truth, man.
Being a conservative is the new punk rock. We're here to investigate the truth, and we're not claiming to be scientists or anything else. We're just looking for the truth, and I hope you come along with us to find it, to actually find the truth and continue where my dad left off.
Let me just do a quick shout out to my news correspondents. Thank you to Lex Eckstein for some of your news.
Yes, thank you.
Sharing with me. And also thanks to BB for the gravy. Really appreciate you, man, and really appreciate the truth you're sharing. I think just sharing truth with people don't realize that it's love to share truth because you want people to shine a light in their own lives. And so thank you to BB for the gravy. And that's my shout outs there.
Yeah, and let's keep building our truth base. Let's get it all together. All of us. We can do it. Thank you for watching Skiba News Nation. There's more to come, and keep seeking the truth. Please like and subscribe, and we'll be back with you as soon as we can.